TechChalk, a technology podcast.
All right, well, welcome back to TechChalk, an educational technology podcast. So we're going to be talking about Microsoft Office and the difference between the applications and programs side of it and the Office 365, which is mostly online. We've dealt with sort of the issue of users struggling between and understanding the two difference of them, because although they are the same programs and work generally the same way, the way that they sync, the way that they work can still be a little bit different. Why one works one way better or why the other works the other way better is always very confusing. And I know as some of the solutions that we have given users is if it's not working in the program, then try it online. But I understand that the titles can be the same because they're all both called Microsoft Office 365.
They
and
call them
the download's the
365
same.
and they wrap it together, and that just confuses, normal people who want to use the stuff properly.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess for first start out with just generally what Office is and what, just the Microsoft Office programs, which I now believe the Microsoft is now calling programs apps,
Which
which
even further adds to the confusion.
yes, yeah. Before we'd always call programs that you would launch on the desktop, but now if you, uh, you know, go into the Cortana search and you type in Word, it'll say app. It'll say launch app, which I think is also very confusing as well because you can get like application styled Office products. Like OneNote has an app version which looks more like the Office 365, and it has a regular program version which has more features and more integration than it is, and it can be quite confusing when even trying to use all three because they're all the same, named the same thing.
Yeah, OneNote's a perfect example of that, because right now I know we've got users that they have both, they use one, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
toss of a coin which one they actually use.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, they're looking for features in the one that they're used to. If they used the program one before, or some of them even like the app version because it's more simplistic. Um, but it's not too difficult to try. Well, once you figure it out, it's not too bad. It's just the initial part of it and why something works better in one than the other. But Microsoft Office originally was a Office suite that would come with a word processing documentation program, a spreadsheet program, presentation program, and that was generally what it mostly came with. It mostly came with those three, and then they added in OneNote, which was sort of like, well, I guess like it sounds. It's like a notebook, has pages and
How long ago was
sections. And
that now? Like 2000, was
oh
that the
god,
'07 version or even earlier?
I think yeah. I can't. I think it was either was it '06, I believe.
Yeah, it's been around for a bit.
Yeah, it's not too long. And then they integrated their uh, voice over internet protocol application, Skype, video and audio chat with other people. Then they integrated their database program, and it comes with and I know they have another publication program, which sort of like works halfway between Word and Adobe to
Well,
make
it's
PDF. It's
literally called
weird. It's
Publisher. Like it's
yeah,
I can't remember the last time I used it. I think it was probably in high school 10 years ago.
yeah, yeah. I think I might have used Publisher once, maybe to like make a poster. Uh, and that was about it. That was the extent that I used it to. But Microsoft Office, the program side of it, comes with a lot of extra programs that you will not be able to use or get online through Office 365. Now, generally, when Office 365 is said, it is mostly meant to be online, and you usually just call regular Office. It is referring to the programs.
Yes.
Um, Now, the programs themselves work locally on your computer. So you install them to the hard drive of your computer. The documents that you make are saved to the hard drive of the computer. Anything that you create is saved and stored on the one specific device or computer. Now, if you can, or go ahead.
I don't know, and that's what people are used to, which
Yes. Yeah.
for eons that is how it was done. Right? I
Hmm.
still remember the CD for Office, God, 97,
Oh yeah.
right? It, and we used Word or the Office 2000 suite for the longest time. So
Yep.
it's what everybody's familiar with. You've got that whole suite of programs they give you. You know, for over a decade, it came on a disk. You slapped it into your computer, and off you went. And like every other computer, you'd have to buy a new version because it would be minorly incompatible.
Yep.
So,
I do remember those
yep.
CDs. I actually have the we were just rummaging through the back storage of of our office, and I found
Hmm.
an old 2000 and 2007 Office disc. I actually have them hanging up in my office. Just I have a whole shelf just of all the old technology that I find. Um, but yeah, that's what most people were generally used to, just the set of programs. And nowadays, as things are getting more and more technical, we have more online storage and a more push to save things to the cloud, so that way you can access your documents from anywhere and from any device, especially now during quarantine or when remote teaching and learning becomes a priority. When you no longer have the sitting in desktop you would at school, or your office, and you're forced to use another computer, having that online storage is an absolute lifesaver because you can get it from anywhere and from any device as long as you sign into your account.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to remember the old days of. I mean, for me, it was a floppy disk.
Yes.
Um,
Oh.
and it's funny because that it wasn't that long ago.
Yes.
You know,
Surprisingly.
then we had zip disks, which
Yep.
was fat floppies, and then eh, what would you call it? Flash drive, USB drive,
Yep.
thumbstick.
Flash drives, USBs. It came down to,
Um,
are still good ways of
yeah,
transferring
I
and
mean,
saving data. Absolutely. Yeah.
still
We still got
occasionally have
a
a few. It's
yep.
they're good as a temporary storage medium, but I mean, you're absolutely right. OneDrive, the cloud storage that's attached to Office is extremely convenient for anybody, even if you don't get it at first. It
Yes.
alleviates having to remember, oh my God, yeah, I forgot my flash drive at home or my external hard drive, and all my stuff is there. It's not on the computer. And just makes life a lot easier.
Exactly. Yes, especially. And I was just about to say, yeah, if you forget any of the physical devices, that cloud will always be there no matter what you're doing. And now the programmed version of Office uses the OneDrive local program as well to sync all of your documents that you save to your cloud storage. So you need to have the OneDrive program and signed in and installed on your computer in order to sync and save to your cloud and to pull your documents down from the cloud. That can be a little bit confusing because everyone is, generally used to growing up through technologies, just click and save as, click and save, and then it just saves to your hard drive. But you have to specifically change it over to the cloud in order to save it that way. Um, and that's another major difference between working online and in the program side is online you are already connected to the internet. You are working directly from the back end storage of, I believe it all uses SharePoint in some way.
Well, for
um,
us, it uses SharePoint because we're
yeah,
part
for
of
us it
that.
uses SharePoint.
That whole Azure, the business end of the Azure cloud,
Yes.
which, again, I don't expect anybody to know what that is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just that's what it works off of. It's Azure comes down to SharePoint, and SharePoint comes down to OneDrive for us as a district.
Correct. Yeah. For normal users, it'll be pulling straight from OneDrive.
Yep.
But even using the Office online through 365, you are directly saved. So any document you create or open or work on, it is automatically saved to the cloud. It is a little bit easier. The major difference, other difference between the two is the programs, because they are programs, or apps, as Microsoft now likes to call them, do allow you to do a lot more things. The features are more robust because online you can't have the same amount of features running through the browser. It just doesn't work. Some are not just compatible. Others would just take way too long to load or to run through a browser, while in a program, because it's just a set install, you can include absolutely everything. So there are differences in why some users like to use the programs more than online, is because of the those extra little features that they do get.
And so rather than just throwing a random term out there, so as an example, so somebody like us would say you run a program on Steel, which basically means the old way of running Office, like taking a disk, putting it into a computer, installing it, but which basically means the program's running on a hard drive, right?
Yeah.
That's on Steel. On Steel programs have a lot more access to, say, system resources, processor,
Hmm.
memory, hard drive, all of those user inputs. It's got more functionality built into it. But for everything that we're doing, basic functionality is still in, like you said, the web version. And there's only
Yeah.
so much the browser can do anyway. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
limited in the first place.
Exactly. And I think the then major, I guess, other confusion, or from what I've seen, is mostly just when to use each one, because the programs are synced through OneDrive and they're installed locally. It's a little bit harder in order to just directly share them from the file explorer, or the file system if you're on a Mac, I guess. What's it called? Finder, is that his name? I can't remember.
Uh,
I can't remember.
yeah, I think Mac's version's called Finder.
Yeah, called Finder. It's
Um,
it's a lot harder to share those documentations with other, teachers, administrators, or other users, um, from the program side, because there is a little more liability with syncing, and there are multiple places where it can go wrong. The program itself, like Word, could have a glitch and it could not, save the document. OneDrive could have a glitch and it wouldn't be syncing fully with the cloud. There could be an interruption with your network and OneDrive wouldn't be syncing, even though you think it might be syncing, and saving to the cloud when it's not, and then you end up deleting your document and not being able to save it because it didn't exist to begin with, according to the local storage and online storage. While versus online, because you're 100% connected to it always, there's always an immediate save directly to the cloud. Um, and I think that's where most users find the difference. If they have a problem in the programs version, the direct immediate thought isn't, I can do the same thing of what I was doing just as easily online, and have it synced up immediately with no issues. Or maybe they should have started there if they had initially planned for collaboration with other users, as in sharing the documents, or lively working on a document with other users is a lot easier online, because everything is already the internet's already integrated
yeah,
into it, obviously. But
God forbid you want to work on the on Steel program. Like you said, Chris, you start it online. It's you name the document. It's already on OneDrive. It's already syncing. And it's one click to get it
yep.
into whatever version of Word we're using now, 2016, 2019, or PowerPoint or Excel. Um, and even when you, and I'm pretty sure the feature is automatic when you do that, and even when you open them in the on Steel programs, the autosave feature should be turned on by default, and the changes you make should automatically upload to OneDrive.
Yes, yeah, for the programs, if you initially save the document first. I have had users in the past where they created a whole document and then thought it was syncing to the OneDrive, but they did not initially save it because to their OneDrive folder. So it did not autosave for them. So when they closed out, they had lost some of their stuff. And that's mostly the difference between online. Online, there's always an immediate autosave. I think after you make any change whatsoever to the document, even without saving it because it's online, it's automatically saved. With the program, you do have to make that initial save, but then once you do, yes, as you said, then there is that again automatic save, as long as the other steps are also syncing, as long as the program's working, the OneDrive sync is working, the connection's working, and so on and so forth.
That's also something that we mentioned with Teams is that as long as the services are running properly on the back
Yes.
end, as long as everything cooperates,
Yes.
everyone's happy. Not
Yep.
not not just the users, us too, because that means we don't have to hear about things that we don't really have control over, not immediately at least.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think a lot of users do also use specifically Office 365. And 365, I don't know why they gave it the 365. I guess because it's accessible year round, just constantly and always. I don't, or from any device. I don't know why they called it 365.
I don't know what their
Um,
mentality is on that, but at least at the consumer level, initially you bought the product because when they changed it to 365
yes.
for Office 2013, and I remember this at my old job, it drove people nuts because there
Mhm.
was no more disk.
Yes.
It was a cardboard foldover with a cardboard key card in it.
Yep.
And for every new user that we had to sit at our counter and figure out what we wanted to do to make a Microsoft account.
Exactly. Yes.
So, so I think the reason for calling it 365 was because you
Hmm.
had to buy it yearly.
Oh,
That's
yes.
it.
That's a pretty good analogy. Yeah.
But the problem now is that normal users can go out and buy the software, two or three versions of it, I think.
Yeah.
They can do monthly installments now too, but
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
not us. That's consumer level.
Yeah.
Educational's totally different. The licensing is totally different.
Yeah. Completely. And I do know that the Office 365s are, like we had said, more simplistic in what you can do. But depending on how you know integrated you're going to make your Word document or to your PowerPoint, sometimes just having the simple features is exactly what you need, and switching over to those online applications are a lot easier and better. I know myself, I've switched over from using Outlook as the program, and I have just strictly used Outlook through Office 365. I get the same stuff that I need. I can still make calendar meetings, and it takes up less resources on my computer as well, going through the browser. So that can help save people, you know, their RAM and hard drive memory if they need that, if they do have older computers, or if their district or job offers them different types that might not be as resource heavy as normal consumer products. Um,
Exactly, and it could also be a workflow thing. So
yes.
I'm one of those oddballs that still I do like having Outlook, the physical Outlook program open and running. But
Yeah.
then again, unlike some of our clients, the teachers,
Mm-hmm.
I'm plugged in most of the time. And if I need Outlook on the go, I always have my phone with me.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of the features too, and
Yes.
this is where the difference may be made is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, the collaborative efforts for Office are only done on the online version as compared
I
to the
th-
physical on
yes,
Steel.
the live, like where you can see other users like doing what you're doing, works a lot better online than it does specifically through the Steeled programs. I do believe it does sync over as long as it has initial was initially saved and it is open through OneDrive and all of that. I do believe you can see other users edit, but it is not as fast. It updates in chunks because it has to go through that whole process of syncing first and then calling the information back from the cloud while online. It's just immediate. You're right there.
And you're right. It's kind of funny because we've seen this on the documents that we get. Things to fill out, status sheets, that sort of thing. You see
Yeah.
names pop up all over the place. You can see
Yep.
who's editing, what's in Excel. You can see what cell they're in. It's just
Yes. Yeah.
That's just that's what, at least I think that's one advantage the online version has over the on Steel programs that people are used to.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Especially now with distance learning during the quarantine sometimes, and I have users that I personally know that I take care of in the administration side that they work on the same documents at the same time, and the way they used to do it is they did like the physical programs, so they would specifically download the program from their shared OneDrive folder, edit it, save it back up to the OneDrive, and then they would download it. While online they can literally just go in, do exactly what they need to do, and jump right back out, and even be there at the same time to help each other out if they need to. But mostly coming down to which version you like using is, I guess, mostly what you're used to. I know a lot of users do prefer like the physical, like yourself. That it's just the way that it's been done. You feel more comfortable with it. You like those extra features. Just as long as you're careful enough to make sure that everything is syncing to the cloud and is saved that way, then that's perfectly fine and good to go. If you're a user that doesn't mind not having all the extra features for any of the programs that you would be using, and you like saving the resources, just the simplicity and easier collaboration and sharing, then online is definitely better for you. And then sometimes it's even good to switch between the two. So sometimes if you're editing a Word document and you just can't do something that you need to do, just a picture is not moving to where you need to move it, and there's no right click availability, you can just open it up in the program, because the program most likely will have those extra features in order to edit it. And then vice versa, if you need to share, or those emails just are not coming down into your Outlook, just open it up in Office 365 online, and it should be better because you're just connected straight to the internet.
And with the online versions too, it's helpful that when you're on a machine you're not familiar with, you don't know kind of like
Mm,
what its general health is, and
good point.
well, you pop open a browser, you log into 365, you
Yep,
pop open your email, a document, OneDrive, you know, do what you got to do with
that's
the
all right
content that
there.
you need, and be on your way.
Yep.
Uh, Even then, with that being said, with OneDrive, it's at least I love the fact that you can just take a document, share it, give it permissions, and send it away.
Yes.
And all you need is a user's email.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Do you go to the content that or multiple files even, or a whole folder that you've created in OneDrive, and just the fact that you can pull a drop down menu from up top in the browser,
Mm-hmm.
or I believe right click works in Office
Yes.
365 too. Um,
Yes.
right click is your best friend. Period. End of
Yeah.
conversation. Everybody should know right click is your best friend.
Yes.
Um,
Right click brings up the main options you'll need.
exactly. As just the fact that you can share whole content with people
Mm-hmm.
basically instantly, and it's available to them in their OneDrive as well once it's shared to them.
Definitely. And mostly it's just using whichever one you're most comfortable with, as long as you know the risks and rewards of each one. Um, then you'll always be good to go. And hope that made it a little less confusing for everyone and for the listeners. Unless you have anything else to add about.
Just the one thing is that if you're
Yes. Yeah.
someone like me who prefers technology in life but analog and everything else, um, if you're someone who prefers the on steel programs, give 365 a chance. It really will help your workflow a lot. It's just going to, because I know Microsoft's this big, boogeyman corporation sort of type of thing.
Mm,
But you know what? They need to keep their users. And the more users who use their stuff and give feedback, the better off they're going to be. The easier it's going to get for everybody. It's just the way it is. Give 365 a shot.
yeah. It's good note to end on there.
Hmm.
But for the listeners, if you have any technology questions or would like to know anything else or have any other topics you'd love to hear about on our podcast, then you can find us on Twitter. So,
Oh, yes.
alrighty then. See you next time.
Tech Chalk, a technology podcast.